Hi, my name is Kim Robertson, and I'm here to teach you the nylon-strung folk harp. Now I have my harp tuned in the key of C, so if you'd like to tune along with me, starting on the red string, which is C, you can tune C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. In case you don't know, the red ones are C and the black ones or blue ones are F. Now you can start out by doing this hand exercise. Slap your fingers into your palm, making a snapping noise, and this will help strengthen the muscles that you need to play the harp. Now when we're talking about fingers, your thumb is number 1, and then the index finger is number 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you actually never use your little finger when you play the harp. We don't need it. Now let's start with a warm-up exercise. Starting on C, the red one, place your 4th, and then your 3rd, 2nd, and thumb on the strings above it. You're all set. Now pull just your 4th finger into your palm. Put it back and pull again. If your other ones are slipping off, just squeeze the strings firmly. Pull into your palm and repeat it 5 times. Next, try the 3rd finger, leaving the 4th finger on the string. This is going to be hard. Pull into your palm. Remember, this is just a warm-up exercise. We don't really play this way, luckily. Okay, now your index finger, number 2. Keeping 3 and 4 on the strings. And now your thumb, putting the 2nd finger back. The secret to getting good tone on the harp is to squeeze the string and then pull into your palm. If you just let your finger fall off the string, the tone will sound mushy like this. But if you squeeze a string and then follow through by pulling into your palm, the tone has a much more focused sound. Hear the difference? Falling off the string, squeezing. Not that you have to play hard. Even when you play soft, if you squeeze and pull in, it will still be a superior tone. Get a difference? Now if you're wondering how to hold your hands when you play the harp, a good thing to do is shake your arms at your side and then bring up to the harp and see how it naturally feels. Depending on the size of your harp, you can rest your wrist on the sounding board on the right arm and on the left arm extended out from the harp. It's best for tone to play in the center of the strings, which gets lower the longer the strings are, of course. If you play up here or down here, the tone won't be as good. Now I'm going to show you a series of exercises that you can do. When you're doing them, do them with both hands. For now I'll just be demonstrating on the right hand, but then be sure to switch and do it also with your left hand. Okay, exercise number 1. Place your 4th, 3rd, and 2nd and thumb on C, D, E, F, just like before. This time, play the 4th and don't put it back on the string. Play the 3rd, leave it off, 2nd, leave it off, thumb, leave it off. Notice how my fingers come into my palm. The tendency is to want to play like this, but you notice how the tone isn't as good as when I do this. Then try it in reverse, starting with the thumb. Now alternate playing the 4th, 2nd, 3, 1. The notes would be C, E, D, F. And in reverse, F, G, E, C. 1, 3, 2, 4. Exercise number 2. Using just your 2nd finger and your thumb, grab the first 2 strings, C and D. Most of these exercises will start on C. Place C and then the thumb. Then move up to the next group of notes, D and E, E and F. Now notice how I'm pulling in my 2nd finger and pulling over my thumb. Anybody can do it like that, but to get a good tone, pull in, pull the thumb over. go down, starting with the thumb. Now try the same exercise. This time, instead of C, D, reach up a third to E, C, E. So you're skipping a note in between, still using your second finger and your thumb. C, E, D, F, E, G. Backwards, starting on C. Now extend up a fourth, which means to skip two notes in the middle, still using your second finger. C, F, D, G, E, A, F, B, G, C, and in reverse, C, G. Now the last part of this exercise is to reach a fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skipping three notes in the middle. This time use your third finger and your thumb. See how my second finger is tucked away. Try to relax these fingers. They shouldn't be sticking out like this. Relax them into your palm. C, G, D, A, E, F, B, F, C, G, D. And in reverse, exercise number 3. This time, grab a group of 3 notes with your third, second, and thumb, C, D, E. Place them all on the strings ahead of time, squeeze them, make sure you have your position secure, and pull 3, 2, 1. Move up to the next group of notes. 3, 2, 1. E, F, G, F, G, A, G, A, B, and in reverse. Next, grab a group of 4 notes. Now when you're not using your fourth finger, try to leave it relaxed in your palm. Now this time we're grabbing 4, 3, 2, 1. Your little finger won't want to stay in the palm, but at least try to make it relax so it's not sticking up like this. When your fingers are sticking up, it means your hand is tense. Try to keep it loose. This time, grab 4, C, D, E, F. The next group up, D, E, F, G. E, F, G, B, E, F, G, A, F, G, A, B, G, A, B, C, and in reverse. When you're first starting out, be sure to play the exercises very slowly. A lot of self-taught harp players tend to do things like this, but it's not a very good tone that way. You need to develop the muscles to pull in and squeeze the strings, and then you can speed up and have it with a better tone. We're going to talk about chords now. This is when you play more than one note at the same time. It can be a third, a fourth, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or an octave. Let's start out playing a 5th. This is how we ended our last exercise. This is when you play third finger on C, thumb on G. Remember, have the second finger relaxing in the middle. Now squeeze and release the fingers at the same time. Squeeze and release. Now try moving around the harp, playing a fifth. Now try it with your left hand, and this time, using your right hand, play one of the exercises that you did. For instance, or go up in groups of 3 notes. It might sound kind of dull now, but it is a way to practice your exercises using both hands, and eventually you can speed it up. So these exercises will eventually become your technique on the harp. Let's try some more chords. A 3-note chord is a triad, where you skip every other note. Starting on C, it would be C, E, and G. Squeeze the strings and play. The trick with chords is that your weak fingers will tend to come off slower than your more dominant fingers. So it's important to squeeze so that you control when they come off the strings. Otherwise it might sound like this. Squeeze and release. Try some other triads on your harp. Now try a fourth. With fourths I tend to use my second and thumb. You might want to use your third. Try 6, which would be C to A. This time you'll definitely need your third finger instead of your second. C, A, D, B, E, C. Now try an octave. With octaves I use 4th finger and thumb. If you have a very large hand, you might want to use your 3rd finger. But I like to use my 4th, so taking away the 3rd and the 2nd. Remember, have them relax. They're sticking up. Looks like bunny ears. This is very difficult, so at first you might want to leave your thumb resting on the string and just play the 4th finger as an exercise. Now put the 4th back and pull the thumb over the hand. Now squeeze and pull them both at the same time. If your fingers are a little weak, you might tend to sound like this. Don't worry about it. If that happens, just do one at a time until you develop the strength to do it like this. When you're playing chords, try not to jerk your hand away from the strings like this. Your fingers are doing the work. Your fingers are coming into the hand. If you're jerking away, it doesn't do any good at all. Now let's try a 3-note chord using an octave and a 5th. Place 4th on C, thumb on the C above, and your 2nd finger on G in the middle. C, G, C. Try it again, one note at a time. Now try it on D, D, A, D, then E, then F, and reverse it, F, C, F, E, B, E, D, C. Now try them all at the same time like a chord. Squeeze. Now if you're having trouble in playing like this, messy like that, try pulling in just your middle finger as a drill. This is again just for toning your muscles. And then pull your 4th, your thumb, then try pulling your 4th and thumb at the same time. This will definitely strengthen your hand. Middle and the outside too. Remember to play these exercises with both hands. When you're first starting out, do them with the right hand, then the left hand alone. Then after a month or so, and you're starting to build some strength, do them with both hands together. But be sure to practice the left hand alone, because otherwise, if it's playing along with the right hand, it tends to follow along instead of building its own strength. It's not a bad idea to put a mirror on the other side of the harp so you can actually see what your left hand is doing. Or you can actually put your head on the other side of your harp and watch it. But don't ignore your left hand. Whatever you do, it is a very important hand for the harp. Now, when you get bored with playing exercises, which you will, although it's a good idea to do them for at least 15 minutes a day, you can start playing some chords, say a fifth, and then just with your index finger, improvise, which means to make it up, on your right hand. Just go along and play anything that sounds pretty to you. There's no mistakes when you're doing this. This is just a way to develop your coordination in both hands. And then switch, have your right hand play the low chord and your left hand play the melody. And you can switch back. This is called improvisation. If you're not sure how to get started, you can attempt some of the exercises like we were doing before, or you can try composing the piece. And if you don't think you know how to compose, you can even start with your own phone number, using C as number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just figure out what your phone number would be, and that can be the beginning of a composition. Anybody can make up music, and harp is a perfect instrument to experiment on. Now we'll go on to an actual piece. We'll try beginning an Irish march called Brian Boru. First I'll just play it for you. There's 3 parts to this song. The first part, I'll start with the right hand. Put your hand on A, C, and E. It's actually an A chord, A minor chord. And that's how it starts. And you repeat the same pattern on a G chord, 1 note down. D, B, G. And back to the A chord. And here's the last part. The left hand can actually play this part of the melody. And then it's A, C, D, E, D, C, A, A, A. The left hand plays a fifth starting on A, E. And then moves down to G, G, D. Back to the A. And then it switches to the E chord, E, B. And remember, the left hand is going to play that final note of the melody. Here's the A part, very slow. Left hand thumb on E. Here's the second part in the right hand. A, C, D, E. C, E, C, E, D, C. Here it is again. A, C, D, E. Same pattern on G. The notes of that is G, B, C, D. go back and do it again on A, and then the last part is the same every time. Here's the B part. And the last part, the right hand goes. You can have a choice of fingering here. You might want to use 1, 2, 3, and jump up an octave, 8 notes to the other A, or you can use 2, 3, 4. Same thing on G, B, A, G, or same thing on A, and the last part is the same. So here's the final part. When you're first starting out playing pieces, it's easiest just to use a fifth in your left hand the way I was doing in Brian Boru. But there are other ways to play chords. You can play broken fifths with different rhythms, or you can play 3-note chords doing them broken. Here's a triad, or an opposite order. Or you can play larger chords, a fifth with an octave, playing them broken. Or opposite order. Or you can do what they call rolling a chord, like this. Here it is with a triad. I'm grabbing all 3 notes and letting go rapidly. To practice this, first accent the last beat, then accent the middle beat, then the first beat, and then try it with larger chords. Here's Scarborough Fair, using just fifths in the left hand. I'll repeat the chords in the left hand for you. D minor, I'm just using fifths. C, D minor, F, D minor, G, D minor, D minor, F, F again, to C, D minor, C, A, D. Now I'll use broken fifths and roll chords to give you an idea of how it'll sound. I used some different chords on Scarborough Fair than I showed you. You can try to figure out some for yourself. You never have to do it the same way twice. Next I'm going to play Simple Gifts. It's a Quaker tune. I'll play it up to tempo, and after that I'll slow it down and teach you how to play it. Here's the melody slowly for you, in case you don't know it. And I'll say the chords, just playing fifths as I play it. C, C, F, second part. C, C, F to G, C, F to G, F to C. So there's actually only 3 chords in the piece, C, F, and G. And it's up to you to make an interesting arrangement. You can start out by practicing jumping fifths, if you have room on your harp, that is, and playing a fifth C to G, and then playing it up an octave. And you can use this in a song. That's one way to make it sound interesting. Then you can play a broken fifth. Or 3-note chords. Or you can even play triads using a broken pattern. Or the octave with a fifth in the middle. Or you can even play just single notes underneath the bass line. The key to play melodies on the harp is to set the strings you'll be on in advance. It's like you pre-program the hand. I'll give you an exercise now that will help you in this technique. It's called replacing. Place your 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and thumb on C, D, E, F. Play 4, 3, 2. Now before you play the thumb, put the 4th back on the C and repeat the cycle. Before you play the thumb, put the 4th back, and then place 3, 2, 1 back on the string. This way there is always a finger on the strings. Now I'll do it in reverse. Thumb. This time keep the 4th there until you place the thumb. Now try that technique going up the harp like this. Before you play your thumb, replace your 4th on D, then set 3, 2, 1. Place 4th on E, and now go in reverse. Before letting go of the 4th, replace the thumb on B, then on A, This will help your playing sound smooth and will increase your speed since your hand is more secure. Now, we're going to start what is called preparation for crossing. This is like leapfrog. Your second finger will cross underneath the thumb on the next string. Cross the thumb back over to F. Put the index finger under the thumb on G. Don't really play this way. This is just an exercise. And go in reverse. Thumb crosses over the index finger. Notice how I'm following through each time. Now do the same thing with the third finger tucking away the index finger. Still playing C, D, E. My third finger is crossing under the thumb. And in reverse. Now the same thing with the fourth finger tucking away your second and third. Now Now this exercise won't work if your thumb isn't high enough. If you play like this, there won't be room to cross. So make sure there's a great space between your fourth and your thumb. Not like this, but like this. And now you're ready to do a complete scale. Place 4, 3, 2, 1. Before you play your thumb, cross under to G, and then place the rest on the strings. Going down. Before you play your fourth, cross your thumb over and replace the rest of the fingers. Here's a scale one more time. Cross under and over. When you begin playing pieces, don't worry so much about your fingering or your hand placement or any of that. It's fine just to use your index finger with your right hand to get started on playing melodies. Eventually your technique will bleed over into your playing, and you'll be playing the harp with these placement techniques. Let's try another improvisation exercise, this time using broken chords in the left hand, using an octave with a fifth in the middle, like this. Start out on a C chord, maybe move up to an F chord, and back to a D minor chord, then up to a G chord. At the same time with your right hand, play just with your index finger, making up a tune. Now try using 2 fingers in your right hand. Try adding 3 fingers. Four fingers. To just in the index finger again. Then play some chords in your right hand. Another technique for harp is to play what we call arpeggios, which is when you cross chords over with the hand like this. I'm playing the same chord in each hand, crossing my left hand over the right, and then if you have room on your harp, you can go all the way over. Let's start out just with a fifth on C to practice. Take a C G in your left hand, C G in your right hand, cross your left hand over, and go back down. You can practice speeding it up. Then try it on a different note. Now let's try it with a triad where you're putting in the middle note of the chord. Or you can continue it up all the way. On D. You can also do a different combination of chords. For instance, a fifth followed by a fourth in the other hand. A way to practice this technique is take a fifth on D in both hands, then cross your left hand over any note you want, and go back down, each time reaching a different note in the crossing hand. You see, the bottom two chords are always the same, and the top note is changing. Now try changing the chords down to C, C, G for a fifth. Back to D. Back to C, and this time grab a chord in the crossing hand. Back to D. I'm now retuning my harp into the key of G by flipping up my F levers. If you don't have levers on your harp, you'll have to retune your harp, tuning your Fs up a half step to make F sharp to be in the key of G. I'm now going to play Fanny Power by Carolyn. Now I'll play the piece slowly for you using basic fifths in the left hand, which I'll say the root note for you. G, A, D, G, A minor, D, G. And the B part goes G, A, D, G, C, D, G, D, G. And some of the chord techniques I was using was playing broken chords, doing an octave with a fifth in the middle, Another technique the harp is famous for is the glissando. This is when you run your finger over the strings. You can do it in a variety of ways. Going up, use the index finger. Coming down, use the thumb. You can also use two hands to make a circular motion, or spread your fingers. Instead of this way, turn it upside down and you can get a chord or 3 notes, or spread them as wide as you can go. This is one of the sounds that the harp is most famous for, although it's one of the easiest things to do. You can get another sound on the harp by playing close to the sounding board. Then it's a nice contrast. You can also use the fingernail for a whole different sound. You can also take your tuning key using the metal part. This won't work if your tuning key is rubber coated. You can slide it on the string and create some interesting effects. Or you can put the fat part of the key between the strings and hit 2 strings. I'm now back in the key of C, which means my F sharps are tuned back to natural. And I'm going to play an improvisation for you using many of the techniques that we studied today. If you want to play along, I'll be playing a D chord, an open 5th, D, A, D, A, and then C, C, G. It may take you a long time to master some of these techniques, but even as a beginner you can begin to improvise and create melodies and chords and still make beautiful music on the harp. I'm going to finish up with a beautiful Irish piece called Star of the County Down. I'll start it out simply and then I'll embellish it.